Hello again. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by Blake Lovell and Max Barr. Today, we will preview an Elite Eight game between Michigan State, the 2 seed in the Midwest, against Auburn, the top seed in the Midwest. You can catch this 4:05 Central on Sunday on CBS, or you can go. ESPN tells me tickets as low as $340 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where Auburn's played a little basketball there this year. The Tigers are about 5.5 point favorites as we do this on Saturday morning. Max Barr, start us off. What catches your eye between Auburn and Michigan State?
This is a fun matchup. Two teams that just gave us some entertainment, some good games. Both of them down in the second half, pretty close. Looking at the initial splits here from VSiN, pretty even. I'm talking dead even, like 50% on the money line splits, and no deviation from 50% on the betting or handle splits for the spread, more than 7%. Everyone is pretty undecided on this one. Even opinions on Michigan State as the underdog, trying to knock off the first 1 seed to fall, and a lot of people also backing Auburn to take care of business against an unranked team in the preseason who earned a 1 or 2 seed, which has never been to the Final Four.
Yeah. I mean, this is one where I think Michigan State is probably a team for some people. If you watched them against Ole Miss, you're going to be like, well, Ole Miss should have won that game and all this other stuff. But again, I just don't think you can underestimate how good this team can be. And I mean, I know there's some things stat-wise, like they're not going to really, do a whole lot from three and all that. Like that's what the numbers tell us. But man, when they attack and their guards can just kind of get after it, I mean, they're fun to watch. And of course, we know what to expect from a defensive, perspective. They're going to be they're just not going to let you get the shots you want. They're not going to let you get offensive rebounds. They're top 10 in the country in that. So, I mean, yeah, like it's one where you're going up against Tom Izzo in March, right? Like, I mean, that's game plan wise, they're not many better than him. But you also look at it from Auburn's perspective and say, how many times now have these guys just sort of answered the bell? I mean, they're down at halftime against Creighton. They wind up winning by 12, played some of their best basketball in the second half. Michigan, they're down 9 with 12 minutes to go, and they just completely turn it on. I mean, wind up 10 and a half minutes later, they're up 14. They wind up winning by 13. So, I mean, we've just said the strength of this Auburn team is their depth. This Michigan State team obviously got a lot of very talented players. So I love this matchup.
Yeah, Auburn is the clear favorite here. Michigan State had a great season. Auburn had an elite season. But the one concern we've had for Auburn, well, two concerns are kind of Auburn losing its cool, which we've seen happen a few times, particularly with Chad Baker-Mazara. But the one that's probably bigger than that is free throws. Auburn puts a lot of guys on the line, and got in foul trouble even in its last win. Michigan State, what does it do? It gets to the line a lot, and it hits a high percentage of those shots, nearly 78%. I think if you were circling ways that Michigan State can win this game, that's one. And I don't know if you guys have got any other things. Blake touched on some stuff, but that's kind of a focal point for me when I watch this one.
Yeah, that's number one for me too, Chris. That's exactly where I was going to go. I think it's extremely important from a Michigan State perspective that one of their guards has a nice night offensively, whether it's Richardson, whether it's Akins, who's had a little bit of a down year shooting, but is very capable, and man, he's made for March. They got that support off the bench, like just the support scoring with Cohen Carr giving them 15 last game, and they had Fiddler the game before that. So they've had some nice offensive support. And in a game against Auburn here, where you saw that, 46, 48 points in that second half against Michigan, Michigan State has a tendency to go through some droughts. Like you said, Chris, piggybacking off that point, if it's Richardson, Akins, or something, just get into the line. And maybe Auburn's on a 6-0 run. You get to the line, you stop the game, You get some points while the clock is stopped, and then are able to set up your defense. I think that's going to be like the game within the game for Sparty.
Well, I mean, listen, we can bring up all the numbers we want, but I think it's just I mentioned like Michigan State's a team that's not going to really do much of anything from three. They just don't get much of their points from there. I mean, they're 31%, so that's just not what they do. But I mean, as clear as it gets, like when it comes to, we've talked about Auburn's fouling and the potential to put people on the line. I mean, just for reference, I'm going to read you some of the SEC teams, and I'm going to tell you where Michigan State's at in relation to them, right? Alabama, 7th in the country, 25.5 free throws per game. Texas A&M's 11th, 24.9 free throws per game. South Carolina, 19, 23.5. Georgia, 27th, 22.7. And then there's Michigan State at 31 at 22.5. So, I mean, again, you're talking about a team that is going to shoot some free throws, and I think that is something where at least if you're Auburn and we foul, hey, they're making them by ones and not by threes, so it's like it's just one of those things. Maybe there's the mathematical part of the equation, but still, like that is such an important part because we talk about rotations and all that other stuff. I mean, Auburn's depth has been its strength, but again, you don't want to sit there and let's say get in a game where all of a sudden, your defensive MVP Denver Jones is, got a couple fouls or something like that, which he's not really anyone that. I mean, that's been one of the most impressive things about him actually this season is he's just rarely in foul trouble, right? He's just so good with the active hands and all that, but you don't want to have a situation where you kind of have one of the big men maybe in foul trouble. You've got a Todd Pettiford, Mr. Big Shot, sitting on the bench because he got a couple fouls or something like that. Like, it just sort of changes the dynamic of the game, especially for a team that is going to attack. And so that's it. I mean, how does Auburn guard the guards? Like, I mean, really what it comes down to for me, you mentioned Akins and Richardson and those guys. I mean, they're fantastic with what they can do with the ball. And so, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, but like stay out of foul trouble. If you keep Michigan State off the line, I think you win this game going away.
Everybody knows about Janai Broome. Either he or Cooper Flagg are going to be the National Player of the Year. But the thing that has really made Auburn go lately when it struggled is the guards. Denver Jones has been just a rock. Todd Pettiford has been spectacular, hitting difficult shots. Chad Baker-Mazar has done that for them. He's been kind of hit and miss lately. And then you got Miles Kelly, who can just really go on a heater and hit a lot of threes at a high clip. I think that's the thing lately that's made Auburn so tough to stop. And I'm going to be interested to see can Michigan State, because I don't think you stop one of those guys, okay, no big deal. That's four of them. How much can Michigan State limit those guys across the board? That is going to be something that I'm watching.
They're going to do a great job at limiting them from the perimeter, because when you filter the Torvik numbers for February 1st on, Michigan State is holding their opponents to 26.5% from three. 26% from three in the past 2 months of basketball. And that's a big part of Auburn's offense. So if you take away that, it becomes and hey, Michigan State's got the bodies to throw at Broome. They've got the big band that maybe not skilled wise, but they have the depth of bodies to throw at him and try to wear him down over the course of the game. That's going to be a big piece to start off. It's one of those games where the first 5-10 minutes I feel like is really going to tell a lot here with that Michigan State perimeter defense holding teams at 26%. And you saw that's pretty much exactly what got Auburn back in the game with the Todd Pettiford and Denver Jones threes in the second half yesterday, or whenever the game was. So that's a huge chess match within the game, another game within the game, the Auburn perimeter play against Michigan State defensively.
All right. I'm ready for picks.
Oh. We ready?
Let's go.
I'm going Auburn. I think there are some things that Michigan State can do to frustrate them. And this is like you said, Blake, it's February Izzo. This is what he does. This is what he does. And this is one of his feel like this team's so connected with Michigan State. This team is so rock solid. They play together. They don't beat themselves. I mean, they're tough as nails. They've lost one game since February 15th. I'm going Auburn, though. I think the offense is going to get it to them. But, man, I'm not playing anything on the spread here. I don't want to doubt Izzo.
Two rules in the tournament so far. First of all, the favorites are winning just about every game. Auburn's favorite here. Number two, when in doubt, I go with the team that can really shoot it. That is clearly Auburn. But the thing that's bothered us with Auburn has been, like, you watched them lately, it just didn't feel like Auburn. But something happened in the second half of the Michigan game. Auburn got its mojo back. And Auburn with its mojo back is a dangerous thing, dangerous enough the Tigers could win the whole tournament. I had Auburn in the Final Four. After seeing the way Auburn has played with the edge and the passion without doing things that are over the line and are costly to them, I like where this team sits, and I see it advancing to the Final Four.
Well, I would even argue that Auburn got its mojo back in the second half against Creighton. And
Yeah.
I think other than Michigan just making a few more plays to have a bit of a lead there, I think they've kind of had it. I think Auburn's kept that really since then. And it just so happens that, like, they hit one gear against Creighton in the second half, and then they hit another gear once they got to that final stretch against Michigan. And I think, to me, one of the things that I don't even know if we've talked about, I mean, you kidding me? You've got the Auburn senior citizens over here against Michigan State, who is a bit younger, right? I mean, that's the joke everybody makes about Auburn, is that they're just, all 45 years old. But I think that's one of the elements, too, that's going to come into play here when it comes to just the idea that, hey, I know it's Tom Izzo, and certainly we're not going to underestimate what he can pull off here, but I think just that experience edge, too, feels like something in a game like this, where how many of these big games has Auburn been in this season? Certainly Michigan State has played a very tough schedule too, but we've just seen, like we said, Auburn time and time again, seemingly, when people want to count them out, they just find a way to turn it on. And it felt like there was certainly a part of that going into the Creighton game, as the Creighton game's playing out. Then in the Michigan game, they're done, they're down 9, and then they just find a way to hit that next button. And so I'm going to pick Auburn too. In this one, I think some of that experience may be the thing that wins out here. And I just think they have more paths to scoring. And I think in a game like this, that is maybe the most important thing.
That's been our preview and prediction on Auburn and Michigan State. We'll be here to recap it later after it's over. Best way to get that, hit the subscribe button, enable your notifications. Both are free. Thanks for watching our content. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 for Blake Lovell and Max Barr. God bless you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.